After being rejected by all, the Alpha King now claims her for eternity. In the kingdom of Velmora, where silver moons ruled the night sky and ancient forests whispered old secrets, love was never simple. Love was power. Love was destiny. And sometimes love was a curse. For many generations, wolves of Velmora believed in sacred bonding. Every wolf, when they reached maturity, would stand beneath the moon altar and wait for fate to choose their partner. Some were chosen quickly. Some waited for years. But there was always someone waiting on the other side of destiny, except for her. Her name was Lyra. She was born during a storm that shook the royal mountains. The elders said storms meant great power was coming into the world. But as Lyra grew, that power felt more like loneliness than strength. Lyra was not ugly. She was not weak. She was kind, gentle, and had eyes like dark, quiet forests at midnight, but something about her made others hesitate. Wolves who approached her during bonding ceremonies always felt strange. Not fear exactly, more like hesitation, as if their souls were searching for something that was missing. Every year she stood under the moon altar. Every year she watched others find partners. And every year she walked home alone while the festival lights faded behind her like dying stars. People started calling her the unchosen girl. Not loudly, not cruelly, but in whispers behind closed doors. In Velmora, being unchosen was not just about romance. It was about social standing, family honor, and spiritual destiny. Parents warned their children not to pity Lyra too much because pity could attract bad luck. But Lyra never hated the moon. She spoke to it at night. She would sit on the balcony of her small stone home near the outer village and whisper her thoughts to the sky. "Maybe I am meant for something else," she would say softly. The wind never answered. But sometimes she felt like someone was watching her from far away. Not in a dangerous way, more like someone was waiting patiently, like a predator watching prey that they did not want to hunt yet. The night of final choosing, when Lyra turned 21, she knew it was her final chance. In Velmora culture, 21 was considered the last age of spiritual selection. If the moon goddess did not choose a mate for someone by then, it was believed they carried a mysterious destiny outside normal life. The kingdom prepared for the ceremony. The capital city was decorated with silver banners. Large fires burned in ceremonial circles. Wolves in elegant royal clothing gathered with their families. Young couples laughed and danced. Music filled the air like warm golden light. Lyra stood alone near the edge of the ceremony ground. She wore a simple white dress, not because she wanted to look poor or humble, but because she felt uncomfortable wearing fancy clothes when she did not belong to anyone. Her mother had died when she was young. Her father had remarried and started a new family. They were not cruel to her, but they treated her like quiet background music, present, but not important enough to notice fully. "Do not lose hope," an old village woman told her gently once. Some stars shine later than others. Lyra tried to believe that, but hope grows tired when it walks alone for too long. The ceremony began. Elder priests lit sacred moonfire candles. Young wolves stepped forward when they felt their bond awaken. Some laughed happily. Some cried tears of joy. Families celebrated loudly when bonds formed. Lyra watched silently. Her chest felt heavy but calm. She had stopped crying about this long ago, then something changed. The wind stopped moving. The fire flames stopped swaying. Even the wolves became quiet. Lyra felt a pressure in her chest, like something powerful was approaching from far away across mountains and warlands. The elders suddenly kneeled. Gasps spread through the crowd like spreading frost. "Royal procession," someone whispered. Dark armored warriors entered the ceremony ground. Their armor was black like night stones. Silver wolf symbols were engraved on their shoulders. And then he arrived, the Alpha King of the Northern Territories. His name was feared and respected across the continent. Kale. The Alpha King Kale was not old, but he carried the presence of ancient kings. His black cloak moved slowly behind him like dark wings. His eyes were sharp, silver-gray like frozen storm clouds. People bowed immediately. Even elders trembled slightly. Kale did not speak at first. He simply walked through the crowd until he reached the center of the ceremony ground. And then he looked at Lyra, not at anyone else, just her. Lyra felt her heartbeat change rhythm, not fear, not attraction, something deeper and more confusing. Kale spoke in a deep, controlled voice. "I claim her." The world went completely silent. Whispers turned into shocked breathing. Some wolves looked confused, some looked frightened. Royal claims were rare. Royal claims were usually reserved for political alliances or powerful bloodlines. Lyra was just a village girl. She felt dizzy. "Wait," she said quietly. "You have never met me." Cale stepped closer. His presence felt heavy but not cruel. "I have known you longer than you think," he said. The moon above them suddenly glowed brighter, not normal silver light, something stronger, something ancient. Lyra felt a burning sensation on her wrist. She looked down. A glowing royal mark was appearing slowly on her skin. Ancient wolf symbols spinning slowly like living magic. Gasps erupted from the crowd. "A royal bond mark," someone shouted. "But how?" another voice whispered. Lyra felt panic rising inside her chest. She had never been chosen before. Why now? Why by the most powerful king in the continent? Cale watched her carefully, but his eyes were not proud. They were tired, sad even. "You are not being taken," Cale said quietly. "You are being protected." Lyra frowned. "Protected from what?" Cale did not answer immediately. Instead, he turned toward the moon and spoke in a language older than kingdoms. The wind suddenly howled. The ceremony fire flames turned deep blue. The priests began chanting nervously. Then Cale spoke again. "There is a curse," he said. "One that follows your soul across lifetimes." Lyra felt cold. "What curse?" Cale looked at her directly. "The curse of being loved but never allowed to live long enough to enjoy it." The crowd became silent again. Cale continued. "Every lifetime you are reborn. Every lifetime you are powerful, and every lifetime someone destroys you before you can fully awaken." Lyra felt something inside her mind stir, like distant memories of battles she had never fought. Cale stepped closer. "I will not let this lifetime end like the others," he said quietly. But Lyra saw something else in his eyes, something dangerous, something like fear, not fear of enemies, fear of himself, because claiming her might protect her. But it might also bind them both to an ancient destiny neither of them could escape. The moon above them suddenly turned slightly red at the edges. The priest stopped chanting. Because far beyond the ceremony grounds, in forgotten ruins under the northern mountains, something ancient had just awakened. And Lyra felt it, like someone calling her name through dreams she had never lived. Cale placed his hand over the glowing mark on her wrist. "This is not the beginning," he said softly. "It is the continuation of a story that should have ended centuries ago." Lyra felt her chest tighten. "Will I ever be free?" she asked quietly. Cale did not answer. Instead, he looked at the dark horizon beyond the kingdom walls. Because somewhere in the darkness, something was already moving toward them. Watching, waiting, hungry for what the moon had just given back. The night after the royal claim ceremony was silent. Too silent. In the kingdom of Velmora, silence was never a good sign. Normally, the capital city was filled with music, wolf howls, and celebration fires that burned through the night. But now, people stayed inside their homes. Curtains were closed. Candles were kept burning near windows as if light could protect them from unknown dangers. Lyra stood inside the royal tower. The tower was made of black stone that had been carved from mountains older than kingdoms. The windows showed endless forests and silver rivers far below the cliffs. The moon hung in the sky like a quiet watcher. She kept touching the glowing mark on her wrist. The royal bond mark had not faded. Instead, it had grown softer in light, like breathing slowly. Sometimes it pulsed gently, like a heartbeat she could feel inside her skin. Footsteps sounded behind her. She did not need to turn around to know who it was. Cale. The Alpha King entered the room quietly. Unlike the ceremony, he was not wearing battle armor. Instead, he wore dark royal clothing with silver embroidery shaped like wolves and ancient runes. "You should be sleeping," Cale said. Lyra smiled slightly. "I could not sleep." Cale stood beside her but kept a respectful distance. He always did that. Even though he had claimed her before thousands of witnesses, he never acted like he owned her. That confused her more than anything. "Tell me the truth," Lyra said, "about the curse." Cale was quiet for a long moment. Then he walked toward the balcony window. The story of the curse of Lyra's soul, was not something simple. It began centuries ago during an ancient war between wolf kingdoms and dark sorcerers who wanted to control souls instead of land. Cale spoke slowly. "Your soul was once a priestess of the Moon Temple," he said. "Her name was forgotten by history, but she was powerful. She could see futures that others could not." Lyra listened carefully. "She saw my ancestor," Cale continued. "The first Alpha King of Velmora. He was strong, too strong. He wanted to rule not only land, but fate itself." Cale's voice became quieter. "She loved him." Lyra felt something strange in her chest when he said that. But love became fear, Cale continued. She saw visions of him becoming a tyrant who would destroy kingdoms in endless wars. So she cursed him? Lyra asked. No, Cale said immediately. She did something worse. She tried to stop destiny itself. The moonlight moved slowly across the floor. She sealed his power with magic that would follow his bloodline forever, Cale said. But she also did something else. Her soul became bound to his destiny. Every time she was reborn, their fates would meet again. Lyra felt cold. And every time, she asked, Cale turned to face her. Something terrible happened, he said. Sometimes she died in wars, sometimes she disappeared mysteriously. Sometimes she simply faded away like mist in sunlight. Lyra stayed silent. I was told, Cale said slowly, that if I ever truly loved you, the curse would break, but one of us would die. Lyra felt fear, not for herself, for him. You should have rejected me, she said quietly. Cale looked surprised. Why would I do that? Because kings should survive, she said. I am just one person. Cale's expression hardened slightly. You are not just one person, he said firmly. You are a soul that has survived centuries of death. The wind outside suddenly grew stronger. Somewhere far in the forest, wolves howled loudly, not happily, warning howls. Cale immediately walked toward the door. Stay inside the tower, he told her. What is happening? Lyra asked. Cale did not answer. He left quickly. Political darkness the next morning, royal advisors gathered in the throne hall. They were not happy. Some nobles believed Cale had made a dangerous decision by claiming Lyra. They feared political alliances would break. Others believed she was a secret weapon sent by enemies. One noble stood forward. She has no royal blood, he said. She weakens the throne. Cale did not speak loudly, but his voice carried power. She is under my protection, he said. That is enough. The nobles fell silent, but their eyes were cold. In Velmora politics, fear was often more powerful than loyalty. Later, Lyra walked through the royal gardens alone. Servants bowed politely but kept distance. She knew they were not being rude. They were simply unsure how to treat her. She heard footsteps again. This time it was a young royal guard named Rin. He was not hostile, just worried. People are afraid of you, he said honestly. Lyra did not get angry. I know, she said. Are you really cursed? He asked softly. Lyra thought about it. I think, she said slowly, that maybe I am not cursed, maybe my destiny is just complicated. Rin nodded. That is a better answer than most nobles give, he said. But then the wind suddenly changed direction. The royal bond mark on Lyra's wrist burned painfully. She gasped slightly. Rin noticed immediately. What is wrong? I don't know, she said, but deep inside her mind she felt something calling, not Cale's voice, something older, something darker, something hungry. Cale's secret fear that night, Cale visited the royal archives. He searched through ancient scrolls about the curse. What he found made him uneasy. The curse was not only about love, it was also about control. The moon goddess had created the curse to prevent two powerful souls from becoming too dangerous together. But something had changed. Someone was interfering with destiny magic. Cale closed the scroll slowly, because he knew what that meant. Someone wanted Lyra alive, but wanted her power for themselves. He walked to the balcony. The moon was turning slightly red again, not completely, just at the edges. A warning sign in ancient magic. The dream that night, Lyra had a dream. She was standing in a battlefield filled with broken swords and fallen banners. She was not alone. A shadow figure stood in front of her. You belong to the Forgotten Throne, the figure said. Lyra could not see the face, only glowing eyes. You will choose power, the voice said, or you will choose love. Lyra woke up suddenly, breathing heavily. Cale was standing near her bed. He had felt her distress through the bond. What did you see? He asked. Lyra told him. Cale's face became very serious. Someone is trying to awaken your ancient power early, he said. Is that bad? She asked. Yes, Cale said quietly, because if your power awakens without control, you may become something even I cannot protect you from. Lyra felt fear, but also determination. I do not want to be protected forever, she said. Cale looked at her with complicated emotions. You may not have a choice, he said, and outside the tower something moved closer to the kingdom walls, watching. Waiting for the moment when destiny would finally break. The kingdom of Velmora was changing, not quickly, not loudly, but slowly like shadows growing longer as sunset turns into night. People watched Lyra from windows, some bowed slightly when she walked past. Others whispered prayers under their breath, hoping the moon goddess would protect them from unknown fate. Lyra tried to act normal, but normal life felt strange now. She was living inside the royal citadel with King Kale, learning royal customs, studying history, and understanding politics. Yet she still felt like she was standing between two worlds, the world of ordinary people who feared destiny, and the world of ancient magic that was slowly waking inside her soul. The royal bond mark on her wrist had changed again. It was no longer bright silver. Now it glowed softly like moonlight underwater. Sometimes she could feel emotions that were not her own. When Kale felt anger, she felt heat in her chest. When Kale felt worry, she felt coldness in her bones. The bond was growing stronger, but so was the danger. The rising threat one evening, royal scouts returned from the northern mountains. They brought bad news. Dark creatures had been seen moving through old abandoned warlands. These creatures were not normal wolves or animals. They were something else, beings created by forbidden magic. Kale gathered his war council immediately. The council hall was large, filled with long stone tables and hanging banners of past kings. A scout spoke first. "They are searching for something," he said. "What?" Kale asked. "Power," the scout replied. "They are moving toward the royal capital." The nobles became nervous. One noble spoke cautiously. "Maybe they are searching for the girl." Kale's eyes turned cold instantly. "The girl has a name," he said firmly. "Her name is Lyra," the noble bowed quickly. But fear remained in the room, because everyone knew what this meant. If enemies wanted Lyra, they would not stop until they found her. Lyra's inner struggle. Later that night, Lyra walked in the royal palace gardens. The gardens were filled with glowing moonflowers. These flowers only opened at night. Their light was soft and peaceful, but tonight Lyra did not feel peaceful. She kept thinking about the dream she had seen earlier. The shadow figure with glowing eyes. The voice that told her to choose between power and love. She was afraid, not of death, but of becoming something that could hurt people she cared about. Kale found her sitting near a stone fountain. "You are thinking too much," he said gently. Lyra smiled slightly. "You are too good at finding me." "It is part of being an alpha king," he said. They sat together quietly. For the first time, Kale spoke about his childhood. He was not born powerful. He was born during a time of war between kingdoms. His parents were killed when he was young. He grew up learning that strength was the only thing that kept people alive. "I did not want to love anyone," Kale said. "Why?" Lyra asked. "Because love makes you weak," he said honestly. Lyra looked at him softly. "Maybe," she said, "love does not make you weak. Maybe it gives you something worth protecting." Kale did not answer immediately, but he reached for her hand, not possessively, just gently. The bond mark between them glowed brighter for a moment. The peace did not last long. That same night, alarms sounded across the royal capital. Enemy forces had reached the outer walls. Not normal soldiers, dark magic soldiers, creatures made from shadow energy attacked the city gates. Their eyes glowed red. Their movements were fast and unnatural. Kale immediately went to battle. He ordered Lyra to stay inside the palace, but Lyra refused. "I am not helpless," she said. Kale looked at her with frustration and fear. "You are not ready for battle magic yet. But I am ready to protect my home," she said firmly. Kale realized arguing would not stop her, so he gave her a protective charm necklace. "If you feel your power becoming uncontrollable," he said, "focus on this." Lyra nodded. Then she followed him to the city walls. The battle of moonlight walls, the battle was chaotic. Wolves fought against shadow creatures under silver moonlight. Steel weapons clashed. Magic energy exploded in flashes of blue and white light. Kale fought at the front lines. He was powerful, almost unstoppable. But Lyra noticed something terrifying. The shadow creatures were not trying to win the war. They were trying to reach her. Several creatures suddenly broke away from battle and ran toward her position. Lyra felt fear rise inside her chest. The bond mark on her wrist started burning intensely. The creatures spoke in broken voices. "Awaken, forgotten queen!" Lyra stepped backward slowly. "Leave me alone," she said, but the creatures kept coming. Then something inside her snapped, not in anger, in survival instinct. Silver light exploded from her body. The air around her became heavy with ancient magic. The shadow creatures stopped moving for a moment, confused. Lyra raised her hands instinctively. The magic responded. Energy waves pushed the creatures backward, destroying several of them instantly, but Lyra felt dizzy. She had never used magic like this before. Kale saw what was happening and rushed toward her. "Stop!" he shouted, but Lyra could not control it completely. The magic was awakening faster than her mind could handle. The battle ended shortly after. The enemy forces retreated into darkness, but victory felt hollow because Lyra was crying quietly. "I do not want this power," she said. Kale hugged her carefully. "You do not have to become a weapon," he said. "You are not a weapon," she whispered. "But what if I become something dangerous?" Kale did not answer immediately, because he knew something she did not. The enemies were not finished. They were simply waiting. The hidden enemy deep in the northern forgotten ruins, a figure watched through magical vision. The figure smiled. "Her power is awakening faster than expected," the figure said. "We must be ready," another voice replied. "Yes," the first figure said, "because when the Moon Queen fully awakens, the Alpha King will have to choose between his kingdom and her life." Emotional turning point that night, Kale stood outside Lyra's bedroom door. He could feel her emotions through the bond. Fear, confusion, strength trying to grow inside fragile hope. Kale placed his hand on the wall quietly. "I will not lose you again," he whispered to himself. Because deep in his heart he knew something terrible. The curse was not truly broken. It was simply sleeping. And sleeping curses always wake up stronger. The final winter of destiny came quietly to Velmora. Snow fell slowly over the silver forests, covering the kingdom in soft white silence. People stayed inside their homes more often now, not because of cold weather, but because they could feel something changing in the world around them. Old magic was waking up. And old enemies were coming closer. Lyra stood on the highest tower of the royal citadel, watching snow fall like white stars dying slowly before touching the ground. The royal bond mark on her wrist was no longer soft light. Now it glowed with strong silver and faint golden sparks. Her power was growing, but she was still afraid of it. Behind her, Kale approached quietly. "You will catch a cold standing here," he said. Lyra smiled softly without turning around. "You always worry too much." Kale stood beside her. "I have lost too much to stop worrying now," he said quietly. Lyra felt sadness in his voice. She knew his past was filled with war, death, and loneliness. The Alpha King was feared across kingdoms. But he was also a man who had learned kindness through pain. The final truth Kale finally told her everything that night. The truth he had been hiding. The ancient curse was not only about love and death, it was about balance. The first moon priestess who sealed the curse did not want the Alpha King's bloodline to become tyrants. She bound their power so that every generation would carry strength, but also vulnerability. Lyra was not just a reincarnated soul. She was something more. "You are the final key to breaking or completing the ancient destiny cycle," Kale said. Lyra listened carefully. "If you choose power alone," Kale continued, "you may become a ruler who cannot feel emotions." "And if I choose love?" she asked softly. "Then the curse will break," Kale said, "but the ancient darkness that created the curse will awaken fully." Lyra felt fear, because she understood what he meant. Breaking the curse would not be peaceful. It would start a war between old magic forces and living kingdoms. The enemy revealed that same night. Alarms rang across the capital city. This time the enemy did not attack from outside walls. They attacked from the sky. Dark flying creatures filled the night air. Their wings blocked moonlight. People screamed and ran inside homes. Royal guards rushed to defend civilians. Kale immediately ordered evacuation of the city center, but then a larger magical portal opened above the royal palace. From it, a figure descended slowly. The enemy leader. She was a woman wearing dark silver robes with ancient symbols of forgotten magic. Her eyes glowed faint red. She looked directly at Lyra. "Finally," the woman said, "the Moon Queen has awakened." Lyra did not understand. "Moon Queen?" she asked. The woman smiled coldly. "You were never meant to live as a normal girl," she said. "Your soul belongs to the throne of forgotten magic." Kale stepped in front of Lyra protectively. "You will not take her," he said. The woman laughed softly. "I do not need to take her," she said. "She will come willingly when she realizes the truth." Then she raised her hand. Dark magic energy spread across the sky like spreading cracks in glass. "The final war begins tonight," she said before disappearing into shadows. Emotional conflict. Lyra was shaking. Not from fear of battle, but from confusion about her identity. "What if they are right?" she asked Kale. "What if I am not meant to live peacefully?" Kale grabbed her hands gently. "You are not born to suffer," he said firmly. "You are born to choose your own path." Lyra cried quietly, because for the first time in her life, someone told her she had choice, not destiny, choice. Kale wiped tears from her face gently. "I love you," he said quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, just honestly. Lyra felt her heart ache with emotion. She had been rejected by everyone in her past life, but now she was loved by a king who feared losing her more than death itself. She kissed his hand softly. "I choose you too," she said. The final battle, the battle for Velmora, began at midnight. Kale fought on the battlefield while Lyra stayed near the royal tower trying to control her awakening magic. But the enemy leader appeared again. "You cannot hide from destiny," she told Lyra. "Destiny is not something I believe in anymore," Lyra replied. The woman smiled. "Good," she said, "because you must choose now." She raised her hand and showed visions to Lyra. Lyra saw two futures. In one future, she chose power alone. She became a powerful queen but lost emotional connection to everyone she loved. In the other future, she chose love and freedom, but dark forces destroyed kingdoms in revenge. Tears fell from Lyra's eyes. "I do not want either future," she said. The woman smiled. "Then create a new one." The awakening Lyra walked to the top of the royal tower. The wind blew strongly around her. She closed her eyes. She thought about her life, being called unchosen, living alone, finding love, finding purpose. She placed her hand over her heart. "I choose life," she whispered, "not power, not war, life." Silver and golden magic light exploded around her body. Her magic did not become violent. Instead, it spread like healing light across the battlefield. The dark creatures began disappearing, not dying, returning to original magical energy forms. The enemy leader looked shocked. "You are breaking the cycle," she said. "Yes," Lyra replied, "because cycles of pain must end." The curse breaks at that moment. Kale felt pain across his chest. The royal curse sigils started breaking slowly, not violently, but peacefully. The bond between Lyra and Kale became stronger than ancient magic rules. The moon goddess herself appeared briefly in the sky. She spoke through moonlight. "You have chosen love with strength," she said. "The curse is broken." The battlefield became silent. Snow began falling again. Peace returned slowly. The ending, eternity chosen months later, Velmora rebuilt its cities. Lyra became not just queen, but protector of magical balance between kingdoms and spirits. She ruled beside Kale, not as his possession, not as his subject, but as his equal partner. People stopped calling her unchosen. They called her the Moon Queen. One night, Lyra and Kale stood together on the palace balcony. "What happens now?" Lyra asked. Kale smiled softly. "Now," he said, "we live." Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. And far away in forgotten lands, something dark watched them silently. Because destiny may have been defeated, but darkness never truly disappears. It only waits for new stories to begin.